Welcome to Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. I'm Howie Morgasen. On today's short episode, we explore some of the traditions of Hanukkah, the holiday of lights. It's all about the miracle of a small tin of oil that burned for 8 nights. There are many traditions that families use to celebrate when they get together with family and friends. Every night of the 8 nights, you light a candle that is held on the menorah, and you say prayers. Children play with 4-sided tops called a dreidel. And perhaps the best tradition is around food. On this short episode, we will make and share with you 2 classics. They are Potato Latkes or pancakes and applesauce. I just want to let you know that you can find out more about this short episode or anything else on Living Life. You can check us out on social media at Living Life ETB. When we come back, we'll get started with potato latkes. Okay, so let's get started making our latkes. First thing we need to do is we need to peel our potatoes, which are here. So I've peeled mine beforehand, and I've cut them into pieces so they would fit in my food processor over here. Next, I cut up some onions so they would go in. So traditionally, when you make potato latkes, in order to grate it, you use a device that looks like this. This is a hand grater. And people have been using these for years and years. As a matter of fact, Grandma made her latkes using this. And it takes a long time and a lot of muscle to do that. So now that we have the food processor with a grating blade, we can do it much faster. So that's what we're going to use. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to grate the rest of our potatoes. So I turn the food processor on, put it in. All right, then we take the second one here, and we push it through, and it comes into the bottom. Okay, so that's our potato. The next thing we're going to do is take the onions that we have, same thing, put them into the food processor. Okay, and then we're going to push them down. All right, so now that we have our onions and our potatoes grated, the next thing we have to do is get the water out. So another thing that I picked up recently is what you used to do is put all the grated onions and potatoes into a dish towel over the sink, and you used to twist it tight till all the water came out. It was a bit of a mess, but I read somewhere that somebody did it with a salad spinner. So everybody's familiar with a salad spinner. That's the thing that you typically use to put fruits and vegetables in to sort of get the water out. So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go from our food processor, and we're going to take everything out and put it into our salad spinner. Okay, there we have it. And then we put the top on. And we just pump it a couple of times to get the water out, maybe a couple more. Okay, and then we take out our potatoes and onions, which we have here, and you can see all the water that came out. And then we'll take that and we'll put it in a bowl here with the rest of our potatoes and onions that we did before. Okay, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the blade on my food processor. There we go. Put the blade in. Then we're going to put our potatoes and onions back in. Like that. And then we're going to put the cover on. We're going to give it a spin. And this, we want to make sure that we're getting the potatoes and onions very finely browned. So that we did that, and now what we're going to do is add the additional ingredients that we have to for the pancakes. So we have to add eggs, and we add some mozzarella, and then we add our salt and pepper. Okay, now we put the cover back on, and we take it for a whirl. So what we're going to wind up with is a very fine brown of our potatoes and onions, so you can see it. And there we have it, and we're ready to go. So when we come back, we're going to fry up some potato latkes, so stay with us. Welcome back. We're now ready to make some delicious potato latkes. Oh, by the way, the recipe for the potato latkes will be right over here, so you should check that out. So in order for us to fry the potato latkes, we need a skillet, which we have over here. In the skillet, we put some vegetable oil. It's about 1/2 inch up the side. And then we put a medium heat on the skillet, and then we let it go for about a minute. And then to tell it's ready, we do the water test. So we take a couple of drops of water, and we drop it in. And if you hear that crackling sound that you hear over there, you're ready to go. So what we're going to do is we have the bowl of the batter that we put together, and then we have the disher or the ice cream scooper, and we're going to take a scoop of the mix, we're going to put it into the skillet, and we're going to flatten it out a little so it makes a nice sized pancake. And then we'll go in and we'll take another one, and we'll space it about 1 inch apart. Again, make sure we flatten them out nicely. And we'll grab another one, and we'll put that in over here, and a couple more. I just wanted to remind you, when I'm doing this, that if you want to find out more information about the show or other things on living life, that you can do that in our social network, which is Facebook and Twitter, and you can get that at Living Life ATV. So, we'll put the last one in over here, and now they are frying away. So keep an eye on those. When they become brown around the edges, you'll take your spatula and you turn it over, and then keep checking on it to make sure that the bottom side is done. And then when they're done, you'll take them from there, put them in a cookie sheet that has aluminum foil on it, and then as you put it on, you'll use paper towels to put in between the layers to absorb the oil. So that's the potato latkes. When we come back, we're going to make some applesauce to go with those potato latkes. Hello, and welcome back to Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats on the Empty the Bench podcast network. We're talking about Hanukkah, and we just made some really nice potato latkes. But now it's time to make the applesauce. So applesauce is one of those things that's been around for as long as you can remember. It started out when you were very small as a baby, and you ate applesauce and you really liked it. And then as you went through life, you continued to have applesauce. So it's sort of that thing that everybody likes. It's just really comfortable food. The nice thing about applesauce is that because there's so many different apples, there's so many different taste combinations that you can put together with it. My recommendation is that you use local apples if you can find them. Those are the ones that are grown in your region. And there's probably a fair amount of them. And I usually pick 5 or 6 different apples to work with because I feel blending it gives me a really good taste. But if you're a purist and you like one apple, by all means, go with one apple and do that. So let's put applesauce together, shall we? So the first thing we do is we have our stock pot over here, which we're going to use to make the applesauce. And what we're going to do is we're going to start with some water, and we're going to pour that water into the pot. And then to the water, we're going to add some cinnamon because cinnamon likes apples and apples like cinnamon a lot. Now the next item is optional, and that is a sweetener. Some people like natural applesauce, in which case you don't have to put the sweetener in. I like a little bit of sweetness in it, so I put stevia sweetener, and I'm going to add that in over here. And then what I'm going to do is just mix it up a little bit. Okay, and then I would put that on the stovetop under a simmer, so it's starting to warm up, and then I'm going to start adding the apples. So I cut up a lot of the apples at first to get started, but I'm going to show you with one apple, sort of the easiest way to take apart the apple. So the first thing is we have this tool, kitchen tool, called an apple corer. It has two pieces to it. So we take the apple that we're going to work with, we line up in the center, and we just push down. Then the next thing we do is we take the other part of the apple corer, and we push it, and as you saw, what comes out of the bottom is the core from the apple. So we'll get rid of that. Then we take our knife, and we cut the apple in half, then we cut it in half again, and then once more. And that gives us 8 slices for each apple. So once we have it cut, then what we want to do is you grab the apple, and you want to be careful here. If you're not good with knife skills, you want to practice your knife skills. But you go at the beginning of the apple, and you just run the knife through it, and you take the peel off, and then you put it in. So I'll show you once again how we do it. You want to make sure that you're watching what you're doing, and then you put it in. And one more time. Find the beginning of the apple, run the knife through it, and you want to do it slow. There's no rush here, and you don't want to cut yourself, so you do it. And then you would do that on the rest of the apples, and then once you have them in the pot, you would stir it, then you put the cover on the pot, and then you put it up to halfway on the cooktop, and then you, with the cover on, you're going to cook it for about 30 minutes. At 30 minutes, you want to look at it, you want to stir it, and you want to sense whether a lot of the apples will have broken down. There'll still be some chunks left in there. You don't want it to be completely smooth, because some people like chunky applesauce, so you want to do that. So we're going to cook the applesauce, and then when it's done, we're going to put it into a plastic container, put it on a counter to let it cool down, and then once it's cool, we can seal it and put it into the refrigerator, and then it's available to us. The recipe for the applesauce, which is one that I've evolved over the years, it's not one that you find at a link anywhere, so I'm going to provide it to you, but the recipe is right over there. And when we come back, we're going to show you what we made on today's short episode, so stay with us. Welcome back to Living Life, Sweets, Treats, and Eats on the Empty the Bench Podcast Network. So, we've made it. It's time for the Hanukkah celebration, and we've made some really scrumptious things to enjoy for our Hanukkah celebration. We started out with potato latkes, and actually we made 2 different types of potato latkes. We made mini potato latkes over here, and full-size potato latkes over here. And traditionally, sour cream is the dip that you use with potato latkes. Next, we made homemade applesauce, and this looks just incredible. So there are some questions for applesauce that you need to answer when you're putting your applesauce together. It's like skin or no skin, smooth or chunky, natural, or sweetener, and then other additives like vanilla that you can put in, which really make it interesting tasting. So you have a really good choices to make when you make your applesauce. This is all part of a great Hanukkah celebration. I have here, as you'll see, is my Hanukkah house, which I put together with my grandson yesterday, and we had a lot of fun doing that. You see the traditional menorah and the candles, which we'll light every night for Hanukkah. And then you also have the traditional dreidel. First I want to do is let's taste some of this. So I'm going to take a mini latke, dip it in a little applesauce, and give it a try. That's delicious. So I want to wish you all a very happy Hanukkah and wish you all a lot of luck. So happy Hanukkah.